If you happen to be outside late Wednesday night, August 12th, and you see a bright streak suddenly shoot across the sky, don't panic. It's probably not an alien invasion. Probably. What you're actually seeing could be part of one of the best meteor showers of the entire year, the Perseid Meteor Shower. And in 2026, the conditions are lining up to make this one especially worth watching. So, what exactly is happening up there? Where do all these meteors come from? And most importantly, when do you need to go outside to see them? Let's explain it. Every year, usually from around mid July through late August, Earth travels through a gigantic trail of debris in space. That debris was left behind by a comet called 109P/Swift-Tuttle. And Swift-Tuttle is not exactly a small object. Its nucleus is roughly 16 miles across, and it takes about 133 years to make one trip around the sun. It last passed through the inner solar system in 1992 and won't return again for more than a century. But every time Swift-Tuttle travels through our part of the solar system, it leaves behind dust, bits of rock, and other tiny particles along its orbit. Think of it as a giant cosmic truck driving down a dirt road and leaving a cloud of dust behind it. The truck is long gone. The dust is still there. And every August, Earth drives straight through it. When those tiny particles slam into Earth's atmosphere, they're traveling incredibly fast. Perseid meteors enter the atmosphere at around 37 miles per second, nearly 60 kilometers per second. That's more than 130,000 miles per hour. At those speeds, the air in front of the incoming particle becomes intensely compressed and heated. The particle and surrounding gases glow, creating that brilliant streak of light we call a meteor. And here's something people sometimes get wrong. The meteor itself usually isn't a giant flaming rock falling toward somebody's house. Most of the particles responsible for meteor showers are extremely small. Many are closer to grains of sand or tiny pebbles. Yet because they're traveling so ridiculously fast, even something that small can create a spectacular streak across the sky. Some Perseids are larger, however, and those can produce what astronomers call fireballs. Unusually bright meteors that can light up a large portion of the sky and sometimes leave a glowing trail behind them. NASA actually considers the Perseids particularly well known for these fireballs. Now you might be wondering why they're called the Perseids. It has nothing to do with the comet's name. If you trace the paths of these meteors backward across the sky, they appear to originate from an area near the constellation Perseus. Astronomers call that point the radiant. That's where the name Perseids comes from. But the meteors aren't actually coming from the stars in Perseus. That's just a perspective effect. Sort of like railroad tracks appearing to meet in the distance, even though you know they're actually parallel. And that brings us to 2026. Because this year's Perseid shower has something going for it that meteor watchers love. Almost no moonlight. The peak happens around the time of a new moon, meaning there won't be a bright moon sitting in the sky washing out the fainter meteors. That's a big deal. In some years, the Perseids happen near a full moon, and the glow can make many of the smaller meteors nearly impossible to see. This year, the sky itself is cooperating. NASA lists the main peak as the night of Wednesday, August 12th into the morning of Thursday, August 13th. And you don't need a telescope. In fact, a telescope can actually make meteor watching worse, because it gives you such a narrow field of view. Meteors can appear almost anywhere across the sky. What you really need is something considerably less expensive. Your eyes, and preferably a lawn chair. The Perseids can become visible during the late evening, but generally the show gets better after midnight and toward the hours before dawn. That's because as Earth rotates, your location begins facing more directly into the stream of incoming debris. Imagine driving through falling snow. You see more snow hitting the front windshield than the back window. Same basic idea. Earth's rotation turns us more directly into the stream. NASA says the Perseids are generally best viewed from the northern hemisphere during the pre-dawn hours, although some can appear as early as around 10 p.m. And here's another important point. When you hear predictions of 50, 75, or even 100 meteors per hour, don't expect to walk outside your front door in the middle of town and see a meteor every 36 seconds. Those numbers assume excellent conditions: very dark skies, a clear horizon, good weather, and the radiant positioned favorably. NASA's current Perseid guide notes that a more typical observation under dark skies may be closer to about 25 meteors per hour, while the shower under ideal circumstances can produce considerably more. So location matters. If possible, get away from streetlights, businesses, parking lots, and brightly lit neighborhoods. The darker your sky, the more meteors you're going to see. Once you get outside, give your eyes 20 to 30 minutes to adjust to the darkness. And try not to look at your phone every 2 minutes. One blast of bright white tick-tock lighting, and your eyes basically get to start the adjustment process all over again. Lie back, look upward, and take in as much of the sky as possible. You don't have to stare directly at Perseus. In fact, meteors farther away from the radiant can sometimes produce longer streaks across the sky. And be patient. Meteor showers aren't fireworks shows where someone pushes a button every 5 seconds. You might see nothing for several minutes, and then suddenly see 3 meteors in quick succession. That's part of the fun. There's also something pretty remarkable about what you're actually watching. Humans have been observing the Perseids for at least 2,000 years, and some of the debris creating those streaks of light may have been released from Swift-Tuttle hundreds or even thousands of years ago. So when you watch one disappear in less than a second, you may be watching the final moment of a tiny piece of material that has been traveling around the solar system for centuries, which is pretty impressive for something you can see from a folding chair in your backyard. One last question. Could any of this be dangerous? For people standing on Earth, essentially no. The overwhelming majority of these particles are destroyed high in the atmosphere. And no, Earth is not about to crash into Comet Swift-Tuttle. The comet itself isn't anywhere near us right now. We're simply passing through the old trail of material it left behind. So if your skies are clear on the night of August 12th into August 13th, find the darkest place you safely can, turn off the phone, look up, and give yourself some time. You might see only a handful. You might see dozens. And if you're lucky, you may catch one of those brilliant Perseid fireballs streaking almost completely across the sky. No telescope, no observatory, no admission ticket, just Earth flying through the dusty trail of a comet at exactly the right time. And that is the 2026 Perseid Meteor Shower. And now you know what you're looking at.